I'm going to call the meeting to order. Ada, the public notice statement, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good
Adequate,
morning, Ada.
adequate public notice has been given pursuant to the Open Publics Meeting Act. Notice has been posted on the board's website and emailed to the Department of State and to newspapers of broad circulation within the state.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Holden,
Here.
Commissioner Solomon,
Here.
Commissioner Shivakula,
Here.
Commissioner Gordon,
Here.
President Fioraliso.
Here. And our next regularly scheduled board meeting, Ada?
Our next regular board meeting will be live streamed on Wednesday, September 23rd at 10 a.m. from State House Annex Committee Room 4.
Thank you, Ada. And that meeting, or the meeting that Ada just mentioned, everyone, is going to be an in-person meeting with the board. And I just want to emphasize that due to State House rules, this meeting will be open to BPU commissioners and staff only. The meeting will still, however, be available to interested parties and the public via live stream, just as this meeting is also, I guess, from an audio perspective, live streamed, or when we have regularly scheduled meetings, or when we did prior to the pandemic, where it was live streamed also, so those who did not attend the meeting still had the opportunity to, quote, participate, end quote, in the meeting. So I want to emphasize that the public is welcome to dial into, or not dial into, but get into the meeting via the live stream like you normally would. And so this will be our first in-person meeting since the pandemic. And but we have to follow the State House rules, so which is controlled, since we're using a legislative room controlled by the legislature. There will be no executive session today, and we do have one late starter on the agenda, and this matter relates to the procedural process pertaining to microgrids and the crossing of rights of way. We will be taking action on this item at the end of the meeting. So it's late starter A. Again, let me welcome all of you to our board meeting. And it's hard to realize, very difficult to realize that technically the summer's not over, but in actuality it is. And it was certainly an unusual summer, just as 2020 has been an unusual year so far. And so we continue to try to work through it. And as I always report, and I'm so proud to be able to report this, and I know my colleagues are also, that for the most part, the BPU wheels continue to turn. And staff has worked diligently to keep the wheels turning and not to really miss a beat here as far as getting work done and serving the public, which is our primary duty. So I am continue to be proud to work not only with my colleagues, but with all the staff at the BPU for their work. This Friday is 9/11. And it is so hard to believe all these years have passed. And so hard to believe that so many of our fellow citizens lost their lives on that beautiful September day. And it was a gorgeous day. It's blue sky and sun, bright sunshine and so on. And to have the terrible events occur that occurred were just devastating. And we live with that to this day. And I would like to ask everyone on this call for a moment of silence, remembering those who lost their lives on September 11th, 2001. Thank you very much. I would like to clarify some maybe confusion that there might be. We have received outreach from folks who have applied for rebates through our recently created Charge Up New Jersey uh, electric vehicle incentive program. I want to inform those who are waiting to receive rebates that we are processing your applications and we will be sure to send the rebates out as quickly as possible. The current health crisis has created unforeseen circumstances, so I thank applicants for their patience and assure them that they will receive their rebates within 120 days of the application, which is the amount of time stated uh, in the application and so on. But some folks, I guess, got a little impatient, but there's 120 days and you will receive them before that 120-day deadline. There's going to be on Friday, September 18th, the BPU will be hosting an Resource Adequacy Technical Conference. The meeting will consist of several panels that will explore the fixed resource requirement, FRR option, non-FRR procurement strategies for achieving 100% clean energy future and meeting resource adequacy and alternative means of achieving 100% clean energy. And this should be a very informative conference. And the board is exploring all options. And we actually hired a consultant to explore all options in light of the FERC ruling on some of the renewable energy initiatives that New Jersey has in particular, and looking at all options to see what the best option for New Jersey residents, ratepayers, finally boils down to be. And that's the direction we'll have to go in, depending on what those findings meet or reveal. The meeting will be held virtually. More information about this meeting can be found on the BPU website. And I know those who are interested listening in today probably review our website frequently. So please look for any updates regarding the BPU. They are there. We try to get the word out through our social media outlets, Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and so on. But also the website is an important avenue for folks to look at to get the most updated information regarding the BPU. So please continue to look at that as we continue to go along. Do any of my colleagues have or wish to make any opening remarks?
Mr. President, this is Commissioner Chivukula. And I just want to, we just passed the Labor Day weekend and we remember all the labor that has contributed and all the hardships they have gone through over a period of time. And also I just want to just mention that New Jersey Utility Association is having a webinar style, Zoom type style meetings, and all the commissioners are participating in that, and so there'll be a lot of issues of relevance will be discussed.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Ada, the consent agenda, and before you read that, on behalf of the board and the staff at the BPU, I want to express our condolences to you and Kenny Welsh for the loss of Kenny's mom. Lifelong, maybe not a lifelong, but a very long resident of Livingston. And our hearts and our thoughts are with you and your family as you go through this emotional time.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now I have to give me a second right there.
You take your time.
On the following consent agenda items, 1A, 3A, 3B, 5A, 5B, and 9A.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. We will now proceed with the regular agenda. And first up is Maureen Clerk, Audits 1A.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Maureen.
This matter concerns a request from the Department of Community Affairs for approval of the Universal Service Fund Program's administrative cost budget for fiscal year 2021. The DCA administers the USF program on the board's behalf, and this year has provided monthly credits on the electric and natural gas bills of approximately 147,000 low-income households. For fiscal year 2021, DCA is requesting $7,631,276, which is approximately 6% of the USF program budget. Included in the administrative budget request are DCA's costs for administering the program, as well as costs for DCA's subgrantees, which process the USF applications in each county. The budget represents a 15% increase compared to last year's budget, which was $6.6 million. The proposed budget increase is mainly due to DCA's response to the pandemic, which is summarized as follows. First, DCA has created an online application portal so that the public can apply for USF from the comfort of their home, beginning October 1st, which is the beginning of the heating season and the new USF program year. Households will now be able to apply online from any device, via email, over the phone, through regular mail, fax, or in person at an application agency by appointment. DCA has plans to hire temporary employees to process the online applications. Secondly, DCA has plans to increase outreach efforts through targeted digital ads, social media campaigns, and billboards in underserved areas. Finally, DCA plans to increase the number of subgrantees for the sole purpose of outreach to underserved areas with strong income eligibility levels. It should be noted that this is only a budget. Board staff will return to the board with an accounting of all fiscal year 2021 expenditures for board approval. Board staff, including the Office of the Secretary and the Division of Audits, has thoroughly reviewed the budget and found it appropriate and necessary for administering the USF program and making necessary improvements for the betterment of the public. Therefore, staff recommends that the fiscal year 2021 USF administrative cost budget be approved.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Maureen, are we able to take advantage of the library system where a lot of the people, low-income people, may be accessing information through? I know the COVID situation changes the whole thing, and I know USAC program, they try to use the library systems to reach to the people. So I thought that's one way to reach the low-income people.
That's a good idea. I can share that with DCA. I think with the subgrantees, they need to go into contract. They need to do an RFP with nonprofits specifically, but those nonprofits can certainly partner with the libraries, maybe. But I can certainly bring that suggestion to their attention.
I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And that brings us to energy. And Stacy, you're going to be presenting part of this agenda for energy, and then Joe DeLosa is going to be presenting an additional amount regarding this area. Is that correct?
Correct.
Good.
Everybody hear me?
Yeah, a little louder though, State. You kind of muffled a little.
Okay, is that better?
Much, thank you, yeah.
Uh,
So let's start with 2A and Elizabethtown Gas.
Sure, I was gonna start with 2C, but if you want to start with 2A, that's also fine with me. So
Whatever you want to do, Stace. You're the boss.
So for agenda item 2A, on June 1st, Elizabethtown Gas filed a petition seeking to decrease its periodic basic gas supply service rate effective October 1st. The company projected that its recoverable gas costs will be approximately $15.5 million lower than the level recovered through the current rate. The parties determined that while additional time is needed to complete a review of the petition, it is reasonable and in the public interest for the BGSS rate to be modified on a provisional basis, subject to refund, and the parties subsequently executed a stipulation. As a result of the stipulation, a typical residential customer will see a decrease of approximately $9.08 monthly. Staff recommends the board issue an order approving the stipulation and directing Elizabethtown to file revised tariffs by October 1st. Additionally, staff recommends that this matter be transmitted to the Office of Administrative Law for hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call?
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. And that brings us down to New Jersey Natural at 2B. Stacy?
Correct. On January 31st, New Jersey Natural and Essential Power filed a petition seeking approval of an amendment to the original service agreement for service classification firm transportation between New Jersey Natural and Essential Power. The first amendment incorporates changes to the volume parameters and the equation used to calculate the daily operating balance charge paid by Essential Power. The petition also sought a protective order and exemption from public disclosure of confidential information, specifically the pricing and delivery terms contained in the amendment. The petitioners asserted that the First Amendment is in the best interest of its customers, as well as it would reduce the operational flexibility provided in the original agreement regarding operational balance account volumes and reduces the risk of New Jersey Natural incurring an operational flow order penalty by Texas Eastern. By letter dated June 11th, Rate Counsel indicated that based on a review of the petition and document, it did not object to the board's approval of the amendment. Rate Counsel also recommended that the board direct the company to file a petition for review of the prudency of the original service agreement or any modified or new agreement following the expiration of the current term. Staff recommends the board issue an order approving the First Amendment. Staff also recommends that the issue of confidential treatment of certain information that is claimed to be commercially sensitive or proprietary be decided by the board's custodian of records pursuant to the board's rules. Until a decision is rendered, such information should continue to be treated as confidential. Staff further recommends the board direct New Jersey Natural to file a petition for review of the prudency of the original agreement and First Amendment or any modified or new agreement following the expiration of the current term.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call, please, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. 2C, Stace, again, New Jersey Natural regarding their SBC rates.
Yes. So on September 30th of 2019, New Jersey Natural filed a petition requesting approval to change rates for two components of its societal benefits charge, the remediation adjustment and the New Jersey Clean Energy Program. In the petition, New Jersey Natural sought approval to increase the per therm RA and NJCEP rates. Additionally, the petition sought approval of the remediation expenditures incurred by the company from July 1st, 2018 through June 30th of 2019. In response to discovery, New Jersey Natural updated the schedules in the petition to reflect actual data through December 31st of 2019. The updated RA revenue requirement is approximately 9.71 million, and the updated NJCEP revenue requirement is approximately 14.252 million. The parties have executed a stipulation which would allow New Jersey Natural to implement the modified rates consistent with the update. As a result of the stipulation, the annual bill impact on a typical residential customer is an increase of 90 cents. Staff recommends the board issue an order approving the stipulation and directing New Jersey Natural to file revised tariffs by October 1st.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call, please, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
yes,
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Let's continue with New Jersey Natural and 2D. Stacy?
Right. On March 30th, New Jersey Natural filed a petition seeking approval to establish rates to recover increases in the revenue requirements associated with its New Jersey Reinvestment in System Enhancement Program and the extension of its Safety Acceleration and Facility Enhancement Program. The petition sought approval to recover 1.1 million in revenues related to the RISE program and 6.3 million in revenue related to the SAFE 2 program through June 30th of 2020. On July 22nd, New Jersey Natural updated the petition to include actual program expenditures through June 30th. The update reflected a reduction in the proposed revenue requirements to 7.05 million for both programs. The parties have executed a stipulation that will allow the company to recover a revenue requirement associated with the updated numbers. As a result of the stipulation, the monthly impact of the proposed rates for a typical customer is an increase of $1.11. Staff recommends the board issue an order approving the stipulation and directing New Jersey Natural to file revised tariffs by October 1st.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
yes,
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Since we're on a roll here, Stacy, with New Jersey Natural, let's do 2E.
Okay, let's do one more for them.
Okay.
On May 29th, New Jersey Natural filed a petition seeking approval to modify its basic gas supply service, balancing charge, and conservation incentive program rates effective October 1st. Through discovery, the company updated its SIP rate schedules to reflect more recent information. As a result of the update, the overall decrease in after-tax revenue is approximately 8.2 million. The parties have determined that while additional time is needed to complete a review, it is reasonable and in the public interest for New Jersey Natural to implement provisional BGSS, CIP, and balancing charge rates. As a result of the stipulation, a typical residential customer would see a decrease in their annual bill of $27. Staff recommends the board issue an order adopting the stipulation and directing New Jersey Natural to file revised tariffs by October 1st. Staff also recommends that this matter be transmitted to the Office of Administrative Law for hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none. Roll call, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
yes,
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. And let's switch to South Jersey gas this time, Stacy, on 2F.
Let's have a little change of pace.
Exactly.
On June 1st, South Jersey Gas Company filed a petition seeking authority to decrease its periodic basic gas supply service rate, change the charges related to its balancing service clause, and revise its conservation incentive program rates. In the petition, South Jersey also proposed to recover approximately 24.6 million of gas supply and related costs incurred as a result of the resolution of a contract dispute with one of the company's suppliers. South Jersey proposed to recover this over a 2-year period. The parties have determined that while additional time is needed to complete a review, it is reasonable and in the public interest for the proposed rates to be implemented on a provisional basis, with the exception of the $24.6 million related to the litigation. Accordingly, the parties executed a stipulation for provisional rates which excluded the litigation costs. As a result of the stipulation, a typical residential customer will see a net decrease in their monthly bill of approximately $13.60. Staff recommends the board issue an order adopting the stipulation and directing South Jersey to file revised tariffs by October 1st. Staff also recommends that this matter be transmitted to the Office of Administrative Law for hearing.
Moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call, please, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Thank you, Stacy. You have a
Thanks,
good day.
everyone. You too.
Coming up to the plate now to finish out the energy portion of our agenda is Joe DeLosa. So obviously the next three, Joe, have something to do with regional and national energy items.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. President and Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's start with G, Joe.
Yes, sir. In item 2G, staff is asking for your ratification of comments filed on August 17th, 2020. This docket stemmed from a white paper written by Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, or FERC, staff, which recommends expanding rate incentives for certain cybersecurity investments over and above existing reliability standards. The comments filed by staff on behalf of the board support robust cybersecurity reliability measures, but take issue with FERC staff's proposed methods for calculating the newly proposed incentives, which may result in unjust and unreasonable costs for customers. Staff asks that the board ratify the comments filed in docket AD 2019 on August 17th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? Rarely does FERC consider costs to the ratepayers, and that's why we here at the BPU have a division solely dedicated to monitoring PJM and FERC to ensure the fact that New Jersey ratepayers are at least represented. If we don't win everything, at least we're represented. And sometimes we actually do come out as winners. But our job is to protect that ratepayer here in the state of New Jersey. So thank you, Joe. Roll call, Ada, please.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. 2H, Joe, again relates to a FERC matter.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. In item 2H, staff is asking for your ratification of comments filed on August 24th, 2020. Earlier in this year, in June, FERC issued a notice of inquiry, which I'll refer to as an NOI, on the issue of cybersecurity. This NOI requested comment on whether existing cybersecurity standards enforced by the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, or NERC, are sufficient to protect the high voltage bulk electric system. The comments filed by staff on behalf of the board support FERC's continued prioritization of cybersecurity issues and expansion of certain standards where reasonable and necessary. Staff asked the board to ratify the comments filed in docket RM 2012 on August 24th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Mr. President, Joe, I just have one question. Joe, these are the basically NERC standards that making sure that they're adequate for the transmission line cybersecurity, both physical and cyber, right? Is that correct?
So this particular NOI is focused on the cybersecurity standards specifically, not on any reliability standards with respect to moving actual energy. These are the cybersecurity standards specifically.
Well, I was asking about physical security. It doesn't include physical security, only the cyber security.
That's correct. Not physical security, only cyber security.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation,
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Holden, Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon, President Fiorito.
Yes. Let's go to 2I, Joe. Again, another item.
Item 2I, staff is seeking an approval vote for a request for rehearing to be filed tomorrow, September 10th, in docket number 2046. On June 12th of this year, the PJM transmission owners, or TOs, filed a proposal related to the process for replacing transmission assets that have reached the end of their useful life. This TO filing occurred shortly before a June 18 PJM Members Committee filing on the very same issue. Despite the board's protests, FERC approved the TO proposal on August 11th of this year. Because of the impact this ruling will have on transmission rates for New Jersey customers, staff is recommending that the board request rehearing of FERC's August 11th order accepting the transmission owner's filing. Accordingly, staff is asking for board approval to request rehearing in docket number ER 2046 by tomorrow's due date.
So moved.
Second.
This is an ongoing problem as far as transmission is concerned here in the state of New Jersey. We talk about this frequently. It's a major cost of everyone's bill at the end of the month, and it is continuing to escalate with very little oversight. And both PJM and FERC seem to be reluctant to enforce the oversight powers that they have in order to protect the ratepayer from these ever increasing, escalating costs of transmission. And it's incumbent upon us, I believe, to keep this subject on the front burner so that it is looked at. And many times, if we make enough noise, somebody may actually even take a serious look. And I know through OPSI, we have been talking with the transmission owners and have expressed our displeasure with the way the costs and the oversight are going as far as the ratepayer here in the state of New Jersey is concerned. We continue to monitor it. We continue to raise the issue to a public forum, and we will continue to do so until we get some results. Any other questions or comments?
President Fiordalisos, Commissioner Holden.
Yes, ma'am.
No, just to sort of pile on to the last two items, as you indicated, those seem to be like mission creep for FERC. And they're forgetting all of the components that have to go into their decisions. And it just seems that the transmission owners have just a little too much weight in all of these items. And I'm glad we're pursuing rehearing.
Commissioner, and you're absolutely right. We do have a lot to say.
President, you're very staticky. You may want to sign out and sign back in.
Okay, doke. Let's do a roll call. Is that better?
Much.
Okay, good. Let's do roll call unless anyone has any additional comments or thoughts. Okay, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Mr. President.
No items for consideration under cable television or telecommunications. That brings us down to water and Mike and Megan. Who's going to be presenting? Both of you or just Mike? Somebody has to unmute.
It's okay. It's Mike. I'm going to be presenting, Commissioner.
Okay, good, Mike. So
Megan,
we're 5A, and it's regarding a case with administrative law judge.
yes. Good morning, Commissioners. Before I begin, I'd like to thank Megan Lupo and Suzanne Patnode for all their hard work on this matter. And I'd also like to give a little background. In the water industry, the service line that extends from the water main to the house is partially owned by the utility and partially owned by the customer, and thus the genesis of this matter. On March 22nd, 2019, Suez Water, New Jersey filed a petition seeking approval of the following. 1, a lead service line, or LSL, replacement surcharge pilot program, modification of its tariff to charge all general water meter customers a lead service line replacement surcharge, and deferred accounting treatment related to the pilot program and all costs already incurred for the LSL replacement program to date, and a modification of its tariff on an interim basis, allowing the company to perform LSL replacements on the customer-owned side of the service line and charge the customer $1,000 for the work. According to the petition, the replacement of the LSLs were in response to Suez exceeding the action level for lead concentrations in more than 10% of its customer sampled per the guidelines of the lead and copper rule of the United States Environmental Protection Agency, which is enforced by the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. The company stated that there are approximately 2,200 known customer-owned lead service lines in its territory and approximately 153,000 customer-owned service lines where it is unknown if the lines are made of lead. Suez represented that it would prioritize the replacement of the lead service lines and will replace at least 7% of the company-owned lead service lines, and goosenecks are approximately 2,300 lines as required by the DEP. The board transmitted this matter to the Office of Administrative Law, where it was assigned to ALJ Gertzman. Suez filed direct testimony in further support of its petition. The rate counsel filed direct testimony in October. Suez filed reply testimony to rate counsel. After proper notice, 2 public hearings were held in the company's service territory on January 21st, 2020 in Hackensack. Several members of the public spoke in opposition to the company's petition at the public hearings. The board has not received any written comments in response to the petition to date. The parties engaged in settlement discussions but were unable to reach an agreement. Rate counsel filed a motion for summary decision in January. Suez filed opposition to the motion. Rate counsel filed a reply. ALJ Gertzman held oral argument regarding the motion on February 25th. On June 15th, 2020, ALJ Gertzman issued his initial decision granting rate counsel's motion for summary decision and dismissed Suez's petition. The initial decision included the factual discussion and findings of fact that had previously been agreed to by the parties. And the parties to this matter are Suez, Rate Counsel, and board staff. After reviewing the arguments made by the parties and the case law cited by Suez and Rate Counsel in their moving papers, and upon staff's review of the record developed thus far before Judge Gertzman, as well as the analysis provided in his initial decision, staff recommends that the board adopt in part his factual discussion and findings and legal analysis, except as noted below. The board has used the discretionary authority to utilize deferred accounting on those occasions where the health of the public or the ability to the utility to conserve safe and adequate service were in peril. Therefore, staff recommends that the board grant ALJ Gertzman factual discussion and findings, as well as his legal analysis as it pertains to the applicable standard for a motion for summary decision. However, staff recommends that the board reject ALJ Gertzman's legal conclusion and accompanying decision to grant Rate Council's motion for summary decision. Staff recommends that the board remand this matter to the Office of Administrative Law for further findings of fact regarding the possible allowance of deferred accounting treatment for the LSLs, which will result in the creation of a regulatory asset for the expenses associated with the replacement of LSLs in possible recovery in a future base rate case. Staff notes that allowing staff to establish a regulatory assets for the LSLs is not a finding by the board with regard to the prudency of incurring the expenses associated with the replacement of LSLs. Staff further notes that the board allowing any utility to establish a regulatory asset for lead service lines or any other expenditures does not guarantee future rate recovery of the deferred expenses included in the regulatory assets. The prudency of incurring the expenses associated with the LSLs or any other expense and the possible future rate recovery of the deferred expenses that are included in the regulatory assets will be addressed in detail by the board at a future base rate proceeding filed by Suez. Megan and I are both available to answer any questions that anyone has.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, questions, comments?
I'd just like to make a comment. I read this order and I thank you for entertaining my changes and discussion. And I think it made it even stronger, I think. Mike, your institutional memory is irreplaceable. It's just really, I find these orders so interesting to read. This issue has sort of, pardon the pun, bubbled to the national attention since Flint, Michigan. But it's always been an underlying problem. And, we all recognize, and I know you do, Mike, that this is a serious public health issue that, it could be exacerbated if the companies were to just remove their portion of the lead service line. So I'm glad we're tackling this and in a very methodical way. So thank you for all your work, the whole team on putting this together.
Thank you, Commissioner. We, Megan, Suzanne, and I make a great team, if I do say so myself.
Great.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions or comments? I would like to make one. And I spoke to you about this yesterday, Mike. I guess it was yesterday. I don't know. I lose track of days. But it's important, and this really goes for all of the entities that we regulate. If there's a change in leadership or other pertinent, important changes occurring in a particular business, this board needs to be notified about it before it hits the newspapers. I am very distressed and upset in this case, particularly with Suez, for not doing that. They have had a change in leadership, and there's been some major events that are occurring, or are some major events that potentially are occurring regarding Suez. But it's important that all of the utilities keep this board abreast of any of those major developments. We do not appreciate reading these items in the newspaper or getting them secondhand. It's incumbent upon each utility to make sure that this board is kept up to date on these major developments that occur within their business. And it's very distressing when we're not. So let that word go out and so on. And as far as the lead service lines are concerned, I'm not going to make any particular comments regarding that. But most of the water companies have been very, very cooperative. And I expect Suez to do the same. Any other questions or comments? Ada, roll call, please.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiorelliso.
Yes. There are no items. Thank you so much, Mike and Megan and Suzanne, for your hard work regarding this particular issue.
You're welcome.
No items for consideration under reliability and security. That brings us to customer assistance, and Rich Lambert, you're presenting.
Yes, good morning, commissioners.
Good morning. How are you today?
No complaints, no complaints
Good.
at all.
Good.
All right. On February 4th, 2020, Public Service Electric and Gas filed a petition pursuant to NJAC 14.3, Section 5.1C to relocate its North Hudson Customer Service Center from 4808 Bergen Line Avenue, Union City to 5665 John F. Kennedy Boulevard, North Bergen, which is 0.7 of a mile from its current location. The company stated it has complied with NJAC 14.3, Section 5.1C and E, including mailing copies of the petition to the clerk of the affected municipality, as well as the Division of Rate Counsel. Notice of relocation is posted at the current CSC. In addition, the company published notice of relocation in the Newark Star Ledger on February 7th, 2020, Jersey Journal on February 7th, 2020, and El Especialito on February 13th, 2020. In order to keep the public informed of the change of location, PSEG states it already or will print the new CSC address on the bill for customers in the area. All inquiry and collection telephone personnel, as well as field collection personnel, will have information to properly direct customers to the new location. The company will utilize social media messaging. Also, local social and senior agencies will be provided information regarding the new location so they can forward it to their clients. Public Services website will also be updated to reflect the new address. PSEG advised that the relocation of this office is beneficial and will provide customers with the same high level of service. PSEG will continue the same hours of operation at the new location with the same personnel. In addition, the company stated that the new location enjoys the same access to mass transit that the current CSC offers. The new location will also have free on-site parking for customers, which is not currently available. PSEG further stated that the new site will be American with Disabilities Act compliant. PSEG projects rental costs will be comparable to the current cost. PSEG will be incurring fit-out expenses of approximately $1.5 million to equip the new space to operate as a CSC. According to the company, it currently pays an annual base rent of $163,875 for 3,450 square feet at the North Hudson CSC on Bergen Line Avenue, with increases of 3% per year. PSEG and North Bergen Residential Urban Renewal LLC, an affidavit of Avalon Bay Communities Incorporated, have entered into a 10-year lease dated December 30th, 2019, with an annual rent amount of $120,224 for lease years 1 through 5. Excuse me. PSEG evaluated multiple properties in the area surrounding the existing CSE and obtained guidance from independent real estate professionals. PSEG is attempting to capitalize on this opportunity while also supporting economic development. According to the company, the new space will be comprised of ground floor space and a multi-story building. The Divisional Rate Council advised staff by letter dated August 4th, 2020, that it does not oppose the relocation. Senator Brian Stack, Mayor of Union City, New Jersey, expressed his concern by letter dated March 3rd, 2020, that the relocation might have a negative impact on Union City by reducing retail traffic and inconveniencing residents of Union City. By letter dated July 17, 2020, Board of Public Utilities Customer Assistance Division Director Julie Ford Williams responded to Senator Stack, thanked him for his correspondence, and assured him that the board would consider and reflect upon his letter in making its final determination in this matter. No member of the public objected to this petition. Rate Council advised board staff by letter dated August 4th, 2020, that has no objections to relocation of its Union City CSC located at North Bergen. Rate Council requested that any board order granting this petition contain the following provisions. 1. PSEG shall develop a contingency plan in the event that both its current and proposed new North Hudson CSC locations become unavailable before completion of the relocation process. 2. PSEG shall maintain at a minimum the same levels of operation, staffing levels, and levels of service at the North Hudson CSC after its relocation. 3. PSEG shall maintain at a minimum the level of accessibility for persons with disabilities at the relocated North Hudson CSC as required by Americans with Disabilities Act. 4. PSEG shall notify the board and Rate Council if it anticipates any changes in hours of operation, staffing levels, or levels of service at the North Hudson CSC after its relocation. 5. The rate, impact, and prudency of PSEG's costs incurred to renovate, equip, and relocate the North Hudson CSC will be reviewed in the company's next base rate case or other appropriate proceedings. 6. This order shall not affect nor in any way limit the exercise of the authority of the board or of the state in any future petition or any proceedings with respect to rate, franchises, service, financing, accounting, capitalization, depreciation, or any other matter affecting the petitioner. After review of the entire record in this matter, including the comments filed on behalf of Rate Council, the board's staff hereby finds that 1, on February 4th, 2020, PSEG filed a petition pursuant to NJAC 14.3, Section 5.1, to relocate its North Hudson CSC from 4808 Bergline Avenue, Union City, to 5665 John F. Kennedy Boulevard, North Bergen. 2, PSEG has complied with NJAC 14.3, Section 5.1, including relevant notices requirements. 3, Union City Mayor Stack objected to the move in writing. The board considered his objections in light of the totality of the request and determined that the benefits of the move were within the criteria for moving the location. 4, Rate Council agreed to the move with certain conditions as noted above. The board finds the request notice of change in hours, staffing, and or service levels proposed by Rate Council to be overly burdensome and substitutes the following language. PSEG's John F. Kennedy Boulevard CSC shall maintain the same hours of operation, staffing levels, and levels of service as were provided at its Bergen Line location. 5, no other objection to the relocation has been received by the board. 6, the relocation of this North Hudson CSC office located from 4808 Bergen Line Avenue, Union City, New Jersey, to 5665 John F. Kennedy Boulevard, North Bergen, New Jersey, is not unreasonable. Therefore, board staff recommends that the board grant PSEG's request and authorize the relocation of its North Hudson CSC, currently located at 4808 Bergen Line Avenue, Union City, to 5665 John F. Kennedy Boulevard, North Bergen, New Jersey, subject to the following conditions. 1, PSEG shall develop a contingency plan in the event that both its current and its proposed North Hudson CSC locations become unavailable before completion and equipping of the relocation process. 2, PSEG shall maintain at a minimum the same hours of operation, staffing levels, and levels of service at the new North Hudson CSE after its relocation as it provided at the 4808 Bergen Line Avenue, Union City location. 3, PSEG shall maintain at a minimum the level of accessibility for persons with disabilities at the relocated North Hudson CSC as required by the American with Disabilities Act. 4, the rate, impact, and prudency of PSEG's cost incurred to renovate, equip, and relocate the North Hudson CSC will be reviewed in the company's next base rate case and other appropriate proceedings. 5, this order shall not affect nor in any way limit the exercise of authority of the board or of the state in any future petition or any proceedings with respect to rates, franchises, service, financing, accounting, capitalization, depreciation, or any other matter affecting the petitioner.
So moved.
Second.
What I'm impressed about, knowing that area rather well in Hudson County, those towns just kind of run into one another. You know, whether we're talking about North Bergen, whether we're talking about Union City, West New York, and it's a very densely populated stretch there. What's impressive to me is that there's going to be free off-street parking, and that's not usual in that area. Generally, parking is a major problem. So in addition to the mass transit, and they're getting their off-street parking also, I think that's certainly a positive. Any other questions or comments?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry, who's?
I defer to Apendra.
No, no, no.
Okay.
All right. I mean, now the quick question is the move is only about 0.7 miles. It's not. It's a healthy walk, right? I mean, it's not that far, and also there's a lot of Bergen Line. There's a public transportation that is running. My question is, in terms of there's a lot of there's a large Hispanic population in that area. I don't think the language-wise it's going to change between Bergen Line and Union City. Is that correct? Language service.
Yeah, all the same functions are going to translate from one CSC over to the other. So yes, they're going to have the same function, same personnel as they did 7/10 of a mile away.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. I asked Rich to send me a copy of the letter from Senator Stack, Senator and Mayor Stack, as well as our response from Director Julie Ford Williams. Senator Stack raises concerns about the large population of senior citizens in his community and the inconvenience that they will experience. Director Ford Williams basically did not, as I read it, address those, but just essentially thanked Senator Stack for his comments and assured him that we would take those issues into consideration. My question is this. Do the issues raised by Senator and Mayor Stack, can those affect this decision in any way? Or, I mean, has public service followed all the appropriate procedures? Does this board really have any authority to address the issues raised by the mayor?
We have authority to raise issues about anything regarding the utilities, Bob. Yes, to answer your question, and I'm sure our staff took it into consideration, and I'm sure we're not talking about. I know we're not talking about, you know, where it's miles and miles away.
Yes.
And the transportation trail on as you well know, on JFK Boulevard is excellent.
Yeah.
There are public buses and so on, and those who still drive, I mean, will have free parking, and so it seems to me like it's more convenient for the seniors from Senator Mayor Stack's community. So I don't know. And I know staff took that into consideration, and it's like everything else. It's a balancing act.
Of course.
You
You know,
know,
I'm
and
just, I know Senator Stack's have efforts to work for his constituents are actually legendary. And I just wanted to make sure that we were giving adequate attention to the issues that he raised.
yes, and yes, we did, and to answer your question directly, and we hear frequently from Senator Stack, who is, as you say, very, very conscientious in representing his constituents and protecting his constituents. And that's something that should be admired. So we hear a lot from him, and we take into consideration a lot of what he says. He has been complimentary of the board and has been critical of the board in the past, and so on. But he is a vocal voice that really is concerned about his constituents. Certainly, no question about that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome. Any other questions, comments? Roll call, Ada, please.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. And Rich, thank you very much. Well done.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
You too. That brings us to clean energy, and Ariane, you're doing the first item here, I think, aren't you?
I am.
On
Good morning.
community solar. How are you today?
Good, thank you.
All right,
so
the
yes,
floor is yours.
thank you very much. So good morning. Item 8A relates to a petition submitted by Citrine Power LLC with respect to a project granted conditional approval to participate in program year 1 of the New Jersey Community Solar Energy Pilot Program. Citrine received conditional approval for a 1.16 megawatt DC community solar project. This is a parking canopy located in Franklin Township in Warren County, which is in JCP&L service territory. On May 18th, 2020, Citrine filed a petition with the board requesting an increase of the project's approved size from 1.16 megawatts DC to 2 megawatts DC. The petition contends that Citrine's original application to the board was sized at 1.16 megawatts DC based on JCP&L's hosting capacity map, as it was directed to do in the program year 1 application form. Subsequent to the project's approval by the board, interconnection studies conducted by JCP&L found that the proposed interconnection point would require downsizing the project by approximately half. A more distant interconnection point would be able to support the project's full size, but at a much greater interconnection cost. The petition also includes a request for a 5-month extension to the project's deadlines to begin and complete construction. With respect to the petition's request for an increase in the project size, staff recommends that the board grant the request. Staff believes that Citrine's case is specific to the nature of the pilot program application process, during which projects were directed to submit applications to the board prior to conducting a full interconnection study with the relevant electric distribution company, and instead to rely on the hosting capacity maps published by HEDC. Staff believes that granting the petition would be in the best interest of the pilot program as a whole in order to support the early years of community solar development in New Jersey. Furthermore, granting the petition would not be inconsistent with prior board orders. In recent weeks, a JCP&L project, a community solar JCP&L project representing 1.8625 megawatts DC, formally withdrew from program year 1 of the pilot program. In light of this withdrawal, increasing Citrine's project by 0.84 megawatts DC would not exceed the limit of 21.67314 megawatts DC set for JCP&L's territory by the board's December 20th, 2019 order. With respect to the petition's request for a 5-month extension, staff recommends that the board deny the request without prejudice. There is an existing mechanism for staff to grant extensions based on the pilot program rules at NJAC 14:8-9.3 C7 and C8. Staff recommends that Citrine be directed to utilize those existing extension request mechanisms.
So moved.
Ariane, excuse me, before you move it, this is going to be one vote. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right, I'm sorry. Go on. Was it you, Senator or Commissioner Holden?
Oh, Senator Holden, I like that.
Okay, we can try to make that happen if you want.
I'll move it. Thank you.
Only room for one senator here.
Okay.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Yes.
Roll call.
Wait,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry. I just have to make a comment here. I'm sorry. You know, I just want to know what the heck is going on with Jersey Central Power and Light. This is not the first case where, you know, we have out-of-date mapping. They have whole staffs in planning that should have these things up to date. We've had, in other cases, we've had load studies that are behind the times. You know, as we start working on bringing EVs online, are we going to run into the same problem? Oh, we can't locate that there because our map shows something else. I mean, what? Just, I want to know who's working and doing anything at JCP&L.
This is Commissioner Solomon. This is a issue I also raised at my briefing, just keeping in mind all the things that we're going to be bringing or potentially bringing onto the system. It's just highlighting that, you know, we as a board may want to take a closer look at, you know, where our utilities are to accommodate these different measures that we're going to be either allowing them to pursue or imposing upon them to pursue, you know, in light of, you know, this issue being visited upon us in a number of different times. So I also raised that as a concern.
Points well taken. And I know that staff is constantly on top of a number of our utilities who have to meet up to those standards, because we will not tolerate any situation where programs are delayed because the utilities are not ready to initiate them. We have too much on our plate and too many things that have to be done. So if a particular utility is having a problem, they should be communicating that to us. And I know our staff is communicating our sentiments to them. And if we have to order certain things for certain utilities, we're certainly not going to be shy in doing that. So I appreciate those comments. Thank you.
One other thing, Joe, just a, you know, case in point and an indication of, you know, what can happen if, you know, they're not prepared. What's going on in California in large part has to do with their grid not being, you know, where it should be in order to accommodate the, you know, policies that
That's right.
do. So, you know, it should be noticed to us to make sure that before we go down that road, that we have a system that can accommodate these changes.
You're absolutely right. And we have to make sure that the cart is not before the horse, so to speak. So you're right on point. Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiorelliso.
Yes. Thank you, Ariane. You'll be back a little later, I understand. Is that right? Yes, that's right. Okay. That brings us to item B under clean energy, and Mr. Ferris, I think you're up.
Yes, good morning,
So
Mr.
this must
President.
relate to offshore wind.
Yes, it must.
There you go.
Good morning, Mr. President and Commissioners. This item is for the board to consider the approval and release of the final offshore wind strategic plan. On January 31st, 2018, Governor Murphy signed Executive Order Number 8, calling upon the board to fully implement the Offshore Wind Economic Development Act and to take all necessary actions to promote and realize the development of wind energy off the coast of New Jersey. In order to achieve this goal, Executive Order 8 directed the board to develop an offshore wind strategic plan, that the plan should include the critical components of offshore wind development, and that the board coordinate with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection to ensure the state's natural resources are protected throughout the development and operation of offshore wind projects. In response to the directives of Executive Order 8, on February 28, 2018, the board directed staff to take specific actions to develop an offshore wind strategic plan in collaboration with the Department of Environmental Protection and other New Jersey state agencies. To facilitate the development of the strategic plan, the board directed staff to solicit the necessary contracts for professional services. After a request for proposals procurement process on September 5th, 2018, a purchase order was issued to Ramboll U.S. Corporation to assist in the development of the plan. Work on the plan began in September of 2018. On November 19th, 2019, Governor Murphy signed Executive Order Number 92, increasing the state's offshore wind goal to 7,500 megawatts by 2035. As a result of the increase in offshore wind goals, staff directed Ramboll to update its work to reflect the new 7,500 megawatt goal. A draft offshore wind strategic plan was released for public comment on July 13th, 2020. On August 3rd, 2020, a virtual public stakeholder meeting was held to present the plan to the public and to receive comments from stakeholders. Staff also requested that written comments be received from stakeholders by August 17th, 2020. 82 written comments were received by the close of the comment period, which included 49 identical comments. All public comments received were reviewed and considered by staff, and several modifications and additions were made to the plan as a result of the comments. Many of the comments received addressed future stakeholder engagement, regional collaboration, and collaboration with existing ocean, environmental, and fisheries organizations. Staff appreciated the stakeholder engagement and feedback and incorporated these comments into a new final chapter of the plan. Staff believes that this offshore wind strategic plan will be a guide to establishing a new offshore wind industry to benefit New Jersey residents and mitigate climate change by developing a clean, renewable energy source. Staff recommends that the board accept the plan and authorize staff to release the final plan to the public.
So moved.
Second.
First of all, I want to thank you, Jim, and your team for your hard work and being so conscientious in working with the consultant and moving this along as quickly as possible. It was a job, or is a job, well done, and it will serve, as you know, as the state's comprehensive roadmap for achieving our goals. I want to emphasize the fact that the plan was developed through an extensive stakeholder process, which included participation, obviously, from our BPU staff and our consultant Ramboll, and a number of interested parties representing the various sectors surrounding offshore wind development. The plan, as I read it, presents recommendations on establishing an offshore wind industry, as you indicated, Jim, that achieves net economic benefits and gives New Jersey residents the best overall value, in my opinion, while also protecting our environment, our commercial and recreational fishing industries, or interests, and mitigating, as you say, the effects of climate change. The whole purpose of this green revolution that we're experiencing here in the state of New Jersey is to do just that, mitigate the impacts of climate change. And all of us as New Jerseyans, and this is one of the reasons why I established the Office of Clean Energy Equity. All of the residents in New Jersey have to participate, have the opportunity to participate in the clean energy revolution, whether it's solar, whether it's energy efficiency, whether it's offshore wind. All of our residents should have the right and the accessibility to participate, because it's only through the efforts of all of us that we're going to achieve the goals that we want to achieve, and that we're going to present to the next generation an environment and an earth that was a little bit better than the one we entered. So that's our obligation. That's our moral obligation. And Governor Murphy recognized that and has set a path to achieve that. And I am proud to be working with all of you and to achieve these very admirable goals. Any questions or remarks?
Mr. President, I just want to commend Jim Ferris and his hard work, and he's very patient in answering questions during the briefings, and the plan is impressive. I mean, there's no question about it. It's got so much detail and well thought through. I think Ramble did a great job, and I think our team at the BPU has worked closely with them to get those results, and I participated in the stakeholder meetings and getting all the public comments. I think this is coming together very nicely. I think I just want to commend. Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, I agree. I'll pile on with that, as I said in the beginning. The team really did and continues to do an outstanding job. We wouldn't be where we are with offshore wind without Jim and his team. No question about it.
It adds to the strength of his pile foundation for the wind generation.
That's right. So, any other questions, comments? Roll call, please, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiorelliso.
Yes. And Jim, you're on 8C regarding our second solicitation for offshore wind.
Yes, I am. If I might, Mr. President and Commissioners, the strategic plan was truly a team effort. So on behalf of the BPU team, as well as the DEP team, EDA, and our consultant team, I would just like to thank you for the kind words. It really was a team effort.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. This item is for the board to consider approving the second offshore wind solicitation guidance document and opening the solicitation window for 1,200 megawatts to 2,400 megawatts of offshore wind capacity. On August 19th, 2010, the Offshore Wind Economic Development Act was signed into law, starting New Jersey's offshore wind initiative. On February 10th, 2011, the board adopted rules that provided an application process and evaluation framework for offshore wind facilities at NJAC 14:8-6.1 et seq. The board readopted the rules on January 23rd, 2013. On February 19th, 2019, the board adopted new rules and amendments at NJAC 14:8-6.6, establishing the offshore wind renewable energy certificate funding mechanism. These rules provide an application process and a framework under which the board will consider and approve, conditionally approve, or deny applications for qualified offshore wind projects. The rules also include application requirements, the ability for the board to designate the application windows, and the ability for the board to impose appropriate conditions upon any project award. On January 31st, 2018, Governor Murphy signed Executive Order Number 8, calling upon the board to fully implement the Offshore Wind Economic Development Act and to issue a solicitation for 1,100 megawatts of offshore wind capacity. On February 28th, 2018, the board directed staff to take specific actions to implement the executive order, including to prepare for the solicitation of the initial 1,100 megawatts of offshore wind capacity. On September 17th, 2018, the board opened its first solicitation window from September 20th, 2018 to December 28th, 2018. As a result, on June 21st, 2019, the board approved the Ocean Wind 1,100 megawatt project to be the state's first qualified offshore wind project. On November 19th, 2019, Governor Murphy signed Executive Order Number 92, increasing the state's offshore wind energy goal from 3,500 megawatts by 2030 to 7,500 megawatts by 2035. On February 28th, 2020, Governor Murphy, proposed a solicitation schedule to achieve the new goal. The schedule called for a second solicitation to be issued in the third quarter of 2020. The goals of this second solicitation are to procure 1,200 megawatts to 2,400 megawatts of offshore wind capacity, to encourage competition, to promote economic development, to protect natural and fisheries resources, and to combat the threat of global climate change to New Jersey, and to achieve all of these goals at the lowest reasonable cost and lowest risk to New Jersey ratepayers. On July 22nd, 2020, a draft second solicitation guidance document was released for public comment. And on August 5th, 2020, a virtual public stakeholder meeting was held to present the document to the public and to receive comments from stakeholders. Staff requested that written comments be received from stakeholders by August 19th, 2020. 15 written comments were received by the close of the comment period. All public comments received were reviewed and considered by staff, and several modifications and additions were made to the guidance document as a result of the comments. The second solicitation guidance document is consistent with the board's rules governing the application requirements and provides further clarification on the state's goals and board's rules governing the application for offshore wind renewable energy certificates. The second solicitation guidance document includes all of the requirements for the solicitation and provides guidance on the preparation of the application, standards and assumptions to be used in preparing the application, the formats to be used for submittal of the information required under the rules, application evaluation criteria, the solicitation schedule, and key dates, including the application open and close dates and the date of a bidder's technical conference. The second solicitation guidance document is intended to simplify the application process by compiling all relevant requirements in one place, ensure a fair and competitive solicitation process by giving all potential bidders equal access and opportunity to ask questions and receive guidance, and to facilitate the evaluation of bid proposals. Staff recommends that the board accept the second solicitation guidance document for release to potential applicants and open an application window for qualified offshore wind projects to be deemed eligible to receive offshore wind renewable energy certificates. Staff recommends that the board open an application window beginning on September 10th, 2020 and closing on December 10th, 2020. This application window is expected to result in the board considering project awards in June of 2021.
So moved.
Second.
This is really exciting to be opening up for our second solicitation. And it seems like yesterday we had our first solicitation, and I'm so pleased that it possibly could be higher than the 1,100 megawatts, which it will be with the 1,200 to 2,400, and that really is moving our goalpost down the road a bit, or up to the ocean a bit. And this is potentially, if I'm wrong, Jim, please correct me, tripling the current capacity that we have, and really represents, I think, a significant milestone toward achieving the governor's goal of 7,500 megawatts of offshore wind. It's exciting. It's as I say, moving the goalposts, and really, when I said at the beginning of the meeting that the wheels of the BPU continue to turn, they continue to turn. There's no question about it. And we don't let a little pandemic get in our way. And it, I don't mean to minimize that. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying, please. But it is something that is a tribute to all involved. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to just add my words of support and approval for Jim and his team. It really can't be it really can't be overstated. With this second solicitation and the supporting efforts through the strategic plan, New Jersey really is moving into a position of national leadership when it comes to offshore wind. And we're going to go beyond the being number one in megawatts produced. We're going to be the center of the offshore wind industry on the Atlantic seaboard. I just can't thank Jim and his team enough for their efforts in making this happen.
Yeah, Mr. President, thank you. Jim, one thought that crossed my mind is that we are working on microgrids and all that. There is no single microgrid based on offshore wind. So something we could probably create offshore wind with battery storage and combination of solar and other technologies where the wind energy comes to the land. And I think something to think about, just an idea.
That would be an excellent combination of a variety of clean energy initiatives, Commissioner, and definitely something to think about.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
President Fiordaliso?
Yeah.
I just want to jump on what Pendra has said, and this is a dream, really, to get this done, and it's becoming a reality. But it's also giving a lot of creative thought to things, and it also leads us to the technical conference that we'll be having. So we think about other things. We think about interconnections, backbones, transmission, all that. So having this, the plan in place and being ready to go, it's just, the framework's there. Now the creativity comes in, and I think we're going to see a much more diverse portfolio that's going to bid into this. So yes, definitely, as Commissioner Gordon has said, this is going to make us the hub.
No question. That's what's so exciting about it.
Yes.
You're absolutely right. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, Joe, I also wanted
Yes.
to, this again, highlights the comments we were making earlier that with bringing, these new technologies onto the grid, how important the next stage is going to be for us to determine how to accommodate it on this system, that we really need to, and I know we are, and that there's plans underway to give our attention to make sure that it's something that we can move forward with in a cost-effective way. As you said, equity is an important issue, and that's certainly the case with offshore wind as well. The hope is that it will create the economic environment to make it so. But there's been times in the past where we with all good intentions, move forward with clean energy projects, but the ones who were basically paying them were those that are least able to do so. So, the giving a focus to make sure that everyone is included, and when we go down this road, it's going to be an important charge for this board.
Yep. You got it. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I think we're ready for roll call, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome. Thank you, Commissioners, Mr. President, Commissioners. Thank you very much.
Okay, that brings us to the budget on 8D. Kelly?
Yes, good morning, President Fiordaliso and Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good. This matter addresses the fourth revision to the New Jersey Clean Energy Program FY20 budget. On April 14th, 2020, Governor Murphy signed into law a bill that extended the state's current fiscal year 2020 to September 30th, 2020. In order to align with the state's fiscal year, the BPU extended the NJCEP FY20 budget. The extension provided the BPU and the New Jersey Clean Energy Program additional time to assess the budget under the current health crisis. Staff now proposes a fourth revision to the FY20 budget, reallocating funds among various programs. The board originally established FY20 programs and program budgets through a board order dated June 21st, 2019, trued up and revised them through a board order dated January 8th, 2020, revised them for a second time through an April 6th, 2020 board order, extended them through a July 2nd, 2020 board order, and extended them for a second time through a July 15th, 2020 board order, and extended and revised the budget through a July 29th, 2020 board order. That was a mouthful. The COVID-19 pandemic created an environment of significant uncertainty regarding program participation levels. When initial budget forecasts were completed, much of the state was shut down, and many unknowns existed regarding when and to what extent businesses would reopen and when projects would restart. However, program participation in some cases remained unaffected and rebounded sooner and faster than the levels previously estimated. Therefore, these proposed reallocations ensure that programs remain operational throughout the remainder of the fiscal year. The reductions in some budget lines have been identified through an analysis of program spending and participation as funding requirements that can be deferred or not used in the current fiscal year. The proposed budget includes reallocations for the following BPU budget items: a reduction in the Microgrids program of $4 million, as staff is still reviewing grant applications, which will not issue prior to the close of September. An increase in sponsorships of $60,000 to fund yearly memberships that are due. a decrease in storage of 4.1 million as staff is in the process of developing recommendations for an energy storage program, an increase in funding for electric vehicles of 1.7 million, as well as a transfer of 1 million in the administrative line of electric vehicles to the incentive line, a decrease in the R&D Energy Tech Hub of 250,000. Proposed reallocations to programs administered by TRC include the following: an increase in residential existing homes of 2.7 million, an increase in residential new construction of 700,000, a reduction in the energy efficient products program of 500,000, an increase in commercial and industrial building energy efficiency programs of just over 5 million, an increase of 550,000 in local government energy audits, a decrease in the direct install program of 1.25 million, a decrease in renewable storage of 140,000. This is resulting from an expired project, a reduction in outreach and website of 475,000. Staff distributed the proposed FY20 fourth budget revisions to the listserv, posted them on the New Jersey Clean Energy Program website, and solicited written comments about them from stakeholders and the public. Staff has reviewed and considered the comments received and recommends that the board approve the processes utilized in developing these proposed revisions and adopts and approves the fourth budget reallocations.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? Comments? Roll call, please, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Thank you, Kelly, and we'll see you in a bit. But Ariane, you're going to do 8E regarding the amending the existing solar RPS rules?
Yes, indeed I am.
Okey doke.
Right. So this item is the proposed adoption of a rule proposal to amend the existing renewable portfolio standard rules and create new rules establishing a solar transition incentive program at NJAC 14:8-10. On December 6, 2019, following robust and iterative modeling and stakeholder engagement, the board ordered the creation of a transition incentive program, also known as the TI program. The TI program was designed to ensure a smooth and efficient transition from the prior SREC program to a new solar successor incentive program, which is currently under development. The TI program was clarified and amended by subsequent board orders. This rule proposal is intended to codify the TI program. It was approved by the board for publication on April 23rd, 2020, and was published in the New Jersey Register on May 18th, 2020. It was open for public comments for 60 days, during which time the board received 7 written comments. Staff is now recommending that the board adopt this rule proposal with non-substantive changes. If adopted, the rule will become effective upon publication in the New Jersey Register.
So moved.
Questions, comments? Roll call, please, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Thank you, Ariane.
Yep.
Kelly, we're back to you for 8F
Thank you.
regarding the EDA and Wind Institute.
Thank you, President. In the matter of an MOU between the board and the New Jersey Economic Development Authority regarding funding for the Wind Innovation and New Development Institute, that's the Wind Institute. On August 16th, 2019, Governor Phil Murphy signed Executive Order number 79 and established a Council for the Wind Innovation and New Development Institute, charged with developing and implementing a plan to create a regional hub for New Jersey's growing offshore wind industry and build upon the commitment to make New Jersey a national leader in offshore wind. The council includes representatives from several agencies, including the board. On April 22nd, 2020, the Wind Council released a report detailing plans for creating the Wind Institute, which will serve as a center for education, research, innovation, and workforce training related to the development of offshore wind in New Jersey and the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic region. A primary function of the Wind Institute will be to act as a hub, that word again there, for offshore wind workforce development by coordinating across stakeholder groups and state agencies to support the development and delivery of programs and facilities that empower New Jerseyans to participate in the offshore wind industry. The FY20 budget allocates $4.5 million from the New Jersey Clean Energy budget to provide funding to the Wind Institute, and staff recommends that the BPU and the EDA memorialize this partnership through an MOU regarding how the funds will be spent. The MOU establishes that the funds to be provided by the BPU will be used for the following programs: execution of a competitive grant solicitation to develop a global wind organization safety training program and facility in New Jersey, development of a wind turbine technician training program, creation of a plan to establish pathways into the offshore wind industry for New Jersey students and workers, driven by a cross-governmental working group to be coordinated by the NJEDA. And finally, funds will be used to design and deliver a workforce development seminar that will provide local stakeholder groups with insight into the industry's workforce development needs to empower these stakeholder groups to build relevant workforce solutions. Staff believes that this MOU and the funding provided by the board will contribute to activities essential to positioning New Jersey as a hub for offshore wind workforce development and to support the development and delivery of programs and facilities that empower New Jerseyans to participate in the offshore wind workforce. Staff recommends that the board approve the terms and conditions of the MOU and authorize the execution of the MOU by the president.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Yes, Mr. President. Kelly, we had a relationship like this in 2012 when under Commissioner Solomon, she was the acting president, creating the Energy Resilience Bank. And that fizzled out. So we want to make sure that similar thing does not happen here. Just going back and learning the lessons from that experience and to make this more effective.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have been and look forward to continuing to partner with EDA. I think it's a really exciting board agenda today because so much is happening on offshore wind and really underscores the leadership role that New Jersey is playing. And I'm confident that this partnership moving forward will produce some significant results for New Jersey and help to develop the workforce here in our state.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiorelisa.
Yes. And 8G, Kelly, is also an MOU with EDA.
That's correct. Thank you so much. In the matter of an MOU between the board and the New Jersey EDA regarding funding for the expansion of the clean energy innovation economy in New Jersey. On January 27th, 2020, the 2019 Energy Master Plan was released. It laid out a pathway to achieve the goal of 100% clean energy by 2050 and outlined 7 strategies to achieve that goal. Strategy number 7 was to expand the clean energy innovation economy in New Jersey through workforce training, investments in developing clean energy knowledge, and the growth of world-class research and development. The 2019 Energy Master Plan recognizes that supporting clean energy and clean tech innovation aligns with critical priorities, ensuring that New Jersey achieves 100% carbon-free electricity and 80% carbon footprint reduction by 2050, while simultaneously addressing longstanding environmental justice issues and restoring New Jersey's leadership as the most diverse and inclusive innovation ecosystem in the United States. To this end, in the FY20 budget, the BPU has allocated $1.25 million from the NJCEP budget to provide funding for the New Jersey's clean energy and clean tech ecosystem, which will be administered by the New Jersey EDA. To effectuate this partnership, staff recommends that the BPU and the EDA agree to a memorandum of understanding to provide the funding and specify how the funds will be used. The MOU establishes that the funds to be provided by BPU will be used in the following programs: a seed grant program to support research and development activities for early stage New Jersey-based clean tech companies. These grants will aim to enable businesses to continue their work in the proof of concept and prototyping stages, at which point they can move more readily into attracting outside investors and in some cases generating revenue as well. Given the early stage nature of this ecosystem building activity, EDA will execute this program in conjunction with New Jersey CSIT, that's the Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology. Secondly, a clean tech R&D asset mapping and voucher initiative to increase awareness, access, and utilization of the state's physical clean tech innovation related assets, which could include testing equipment and specialized fabrication equipment. This initiative would launch an effort to inventory the relevant R&D assets and help facilitate greater third-party access by encouraging more standardized approaches to pricing, certifications and training, and usage agreements. Additionally, the initiative will develop a platform to make relevant asset sharing information readily accessible to interested individuals and businesses in order to increase access to technology. EDA would help to stimulate the asset sharing marketplace by subsidizing the cost of third parties' access to specific R&D assets through a voucher program. Staff believes that this MOU and the funding provided by the board will contribute to activities essential to restoring New Jersey's leadership as the most diverse and inclusive innovation ecosystem in the United States. Staff recommends that the board approve the terms and conditions of the MOU and authorize the execution of the MOU by the president.
So moved. Second.
You know, these MOUs are just another step in laying the groundwork for making New Jersey the center of the offshore wind industry along the eastern seaboard. Not only with all of the turbines that are going to be out 15 miles off our coast, but also making New Jersey the center for supply chain, the center for research and development, the center for more jobs, the center for economic expansion in the state of New Jersey. The domino effect that these two MOUs will have, in addition to the other things that we are doing, will certainly position us well as this industry continues to grow. And this is part of the planning that has to be done, in addition to what we talked about previously. Commissioner Solomon and others mentioned, working with the utilities to ensure that no delays are encountered because they're not ready to move forward. We will make sure they're ready to move forward, just as we're laying the groundwork today to ensure the economic vitality of the green energy revolution here in the state of New Jersey. It's a monumental task, and it's one that is being led by this board, by the commissioners, by an outstanding staff, to make New Jersey number one and to lead the way for this entire country to mitigate the effects of climate change. We have no other choice but to do that for future generations of New Jerseyans and Americans. Are there comments or questions?
Mr. President, I just want to alert that there is a New Jersey Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology. Used to be called Commission on Science and Technology under the Murphy administration. This is Judith Sheff from NJIT is as the executive director is working on that. I think there should be some connection with them. Should make sure that we have some connection, so that way they are specialized. They specialize in obtaining SBIR, Small Business Innovation Research funding, and so I think there will be an opportunity for innovation research, also trying to get access to the federal funds.
Very good point. And there has been, Commissioner, considerable outreach to the colleges and universities here in the state of New Jersey who are more than willing. And NJIT, as you point out, has been a leader in addition to other universities throughout the state who want to be aggressive partners in promoting what we're trying to promote statewide. So excellent point, and it will be followed up on without question. Any questions or comments additionally? Roll call, please, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiorelisa.
Yes. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. President.
There are no items under miscellaneous, but that does now bring us to late starter A, which I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting. And Stacy Richardson, I think you're presenting. Am I correct?
Yes, I am. Hello, Mr. President. Hello,
Good
Commissioners.
morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good, thank you.
Good.
In August 2018, DCO Energy produced an Atlantic City microgrid feasibility study through participation in the board's Town Center Distributed Energy Resource Microgrid Feasibility Study Incentive Program. On February 28, 2020, DCO Energy filed a petition for a declaratory ruling by the board on 2 questions. DCO Energy is exploring options for the Atlantic City microgrid project. The first option is to develop an Atlantic City microgrid using existing Atlantic City Electric Company, or ACE, distribution infrastructure through a new microgrid tariff and adding combined heat and power generation equipment to the Midtown Thermal Control Center, or MTCC, facility, which is a district energy system that provides steam and chilled water to multiple entertainment venue customers in AC. DCO requests a determination about whether net reductions in electric consumption resulting from the new CHP commercial participants may be counted toward ACE's energy efficiency requirements under the Clean Energy Act. The second option is to build an on-site generation facility by adding Atlanticare Regional Medical Center to the MTCC's customer base and developing a new CHP facility. DCO requests a determination that if Atlanticare, which is located on property catty corner to the MTCC facility, is added to the MTCC facility, the overall facility would constitute an on-site generation facility within the meaning of New Jersey statutes. Also, on March 20th, 2020, ACE filed a motion to intervene, taking no positions on the merits of DCO's petition. Staff recommends that the board grant ACE's motion for intervention, requests that the board designate a presiding commissioner, and proposes a procedural schedule for this matter. The schedule sets deadlines of September 14th for responses to motions filed, September 21st for responses to those motions, September 23rd and 30th for discovery and discovery responses respectively, and October 5th and October 19th for initial and reply briefs respectively. Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Solomon has agreed to be that presiding officer. Thank you, Commissioner. And so on. Any questions or comments?
Mr. President, I think the district energy concept is great, and the law allows for more than one crossing more than one right of way. I think it looks like this fits into the definition. I think we need to look at district energy concept for increasing the resilience aspects of it. I think I like this project.
Good. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiorelisa.
Yes. Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you.
That ends our agenda I just want to say thank you for all of you who have participated today. Special thank you to staff, and stay safe out there. Take care of yourself and take care of one another. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right.